Good morning, everyone. Mustafa, what a pleasure to be moderating you in this fireside chat with deep experience on the consumer packaged good industry, your as well involvement in the startup space. So I'm going to dive right in, and I want to start first by contextualizing and asking you, COVID has led to a lot of changes in consumer behavior. Technology in recent memory has led to a lot of changes in consumer behavior. Can you give us a sense of how is consumer behavior changing across the CPG industry and maybe for Pepsi specifically? And any numbers you can share about behavior across channels or product categories or price points to give us a really concrete understanding of the market dynamics.
Sure, yeah, Omar. Thank you for the opportunity. And I think what you said is spot on. It's the intersection of COVID and technology has changed a lot of things about consumers, about businesses, and about startups. So just to answer your question, for sure, consumer behavior has changed in a lot of ways in every industry, including food and beverage. And if you want me to summarize that, I put that in four big buckets, right? So the first bucket is the significant change in out-of-home versus in-home. Very relevant to a lot of businesses, a lot of startups, but especially food and beverage. So, I mean, the numbers are obviously quite different by market, but you see significant double-digit and sometimes 20, 30% declines in out-of-home, which makes sense, and which impacts some categories more than others. So we talk about how it materializes in beverages versus food, for example. But you also see an increase in in-home occasions. Which explains why some companies actually have done well, some categories have done well. So that is the biggest change. Now we still have to see how much of it will stay, but that is a big change. The second thing is the consumers default to trust and familiarity. So what we see happening is because the number of shopping trips have decreased, because the opportunities to shop the occasions have changed, people are going to what they know and what they trust. So you see that the number of brands that they buy has decreased. The basket might have increased because people are stocking, but the number of brands has decreased. And generally, what tends to stay in the shopping basket are brands and products that people know and trust. And that's a big impact. Sorry, you wanted to
even though people are economizing and looking for cheaper solutions in this situation, they're still going to those brands that they trust?
Of course. So
they're more expensive?
Yeah, absolutely. So the economization is happening in two ways. So first, the number of occasions is less. So there are occasions that people used to spend that they don't spend. So that's in itself a big impact on budgets. I mean, think about industries like travel or leisure anyway, who have been affected and as the spend out of pocket has decreased, right? That's one. And the other area is one of the ways they're economizing is reducing the number of brands because they were buying a lot of different things. Now they're focusing on the things that are necessities in their view or the things that they trust. So that's the second thing we're seeing. There is, beyond just out of home and in home, a reshaping of the existing occasions even in home. So think about people cooking more, right? Think about people, having multiple snacking occasions in the day that they didn't have before because they're at home and snacks are available or they have kids around, right? Think about TV time. So all of these occasions, and they are a little bit different by market, have changed dramatically. And some of it will stay. I think this is the biggest trend that will stay, the reshaping of in-home occasions. So that's a big impact. And what's being consumed in these occasions. So mealtime, because it's in-home, is much more home cooked, for example. Just pick an example in some of the markets, right? And the last thing is, and I think this started before COVID, amplified by COVID, and will have a long-term impact on the industry, is the role of brands. And what I mean by that is people need brands to be much more personal, right? So because it's such a tough time for a lot of people, so how the brand talks to me, but much more purposeful. So the role the brand plays in the society, in the community, in how it impacts the planet is so important, has been important, is important in COVID, and will multiply beyond COVID, in my view. So these will be the four buckets that I would cluster the changes in.
Very interesting. Well, so these are some clear changes in consumer behavior. And of course, new technologies that are coming in, whether it's AI and chatbots, whether it's Internet of Things. I'm curious how you see now the consumer journey changing and how you're changing your marketing activities to keep up with these shifts in consumer behavior and technologies. And are you integrating some of these new cutting edge tech into the work that you're doing?
Absolutely, absolutely, Omar. And I think the CPG industry is catching up to some of the other industries, but we're absolutely doing that. And in PepsiCo, actually, we are investing in transformation and investing in digital transformation and marketing transformation to catch up. So let me answer your first question on the consumer journey. So the impact of technology is actually on multiple levels, not just in how people shop, which is a big impact, but also in how people consume information, receive information, engage with brands, right? And how people are being much more receptive, but also asking for personalization, individualization. So these are, and they are very, very different trends that stem out of technology, right? So the first thing is obviously the shopping behavior. That's something that everybody feels, everybody understands. It's not just e-commerce, it's actually the intersection between the channels. So in CPG specifically, and I know this is something that you're interested in talking about, what I'm seeing is e-commerce is growing big time, especially in markets that have infrastructure. So some markets are a bit underdeveloped, but it is the winners at the end will be the people that are able to integrate the different channels. Because in consumer goods, there is a need to feel the product, right? There's a need to actually see the product. Packaging plays a role, display plays a role. There's a lot of impulse purchase depending on the category. So it is how you bring your omni-channel strategy together. And a lot of the players in retail, which explains some of the moves, are thinking omni-channel rather than e-commerce alone versus, and obviously there are a lot of examples in the world, whether brick and mortar that are going online or online that are coming to brick and mortar to bring the experience together. So that's on the shopping behavior. And the role of technology there will be first to guide how people through the shopping journey to make it easy, to make it seamless, right? But also to use online and technology to inform offline. So e-commerce is actually becoming a source of insights because you kind of know when people buy, what they buy, what combination, what time of day. These are very valuable insights for innovation, very valuable insights for communication. So technology plays a huge role, not just in shopping, but also in insights. The other area is how people are consuming information, which, I mean, just to keep it simple, when I was growing up, you had one source of information on products, which is the commercial that was running in, I don't know, prime time on TV. That's completely different now. Now people have much more choice, and the way they decide on what is useful and what is not is very different. So there's much more need to hear what other people are saying, whether people that you know or others, right? So you rely on recommendations, you rely on ratings, you're searching things online, so share of search is becoming very important, right? You generally have shorter attention spans, so how you give information and how you respond to advertisements or placements, etc., is completely different. So that's an area where optimization and AI plays a role in enabling you to understand what works and what doesn't work, optimize and react very quickly. So, for example, we're creating, and PepsiCo was created in Africa, Middle East, and South Asia, a content factory where we're generating content and trying to adapt it very quickly using technology to what consumers are talking about and what they're looking for. That's very different than the old times where we used to spend a few months to generate this big campaign that would roll out and be on air for 6 months. It's a very different model, right? The third thing is consumers are more receptive and actually asking for individualization. So consumers are expecting more and more that when you give me a message on where you talk to me about a product, you know what I want. And they might not realize it, they might not admit it as such, but there is, because that's how a lot of the other industries are working. So if you think about other industries, they almost tell you, this is the product that works for you. This is what we're recommending for you. This is what we're recommending that you watch. And think about that. That is completely new. So they are expecting that more and more from the different industries and different products. And this is an area where AI plays a big role, because if you think about products like PepsiCo, where you operate and you touch 1 billion consumers every day, right? The way you do that has to rely on technology. How do you imagine trying to individualize the messaging and personalize communication to 1 billion consumers, right? That's where it's heading, and this is where we're investing in technology and data as we speak.
Okay, so quick questions just to change the pace a little bit. Maybe they're yes or no questions. Do you believe in the next 5 years we will order through a button?
I think it already exists, absolutely.
In MENA, I know it exists globally, but we're not seeing that much presence of such activities in MENA yet.
I believe so, yes.
Do you believe we'll order through calling our smart assistant? Like, hey, order me X. Hey, Siri, absolutely. Alexa, whatever that might be. Will we have subscription services where we actually won't order stuff? There's a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience. They would love to work with a big brand like Pepsi. They would love to help you solve some of the challenges that you're facing. First, are you working and engaging with entrepreneurs today in the Middle East region? And second, if you were to advise entrepreneurs, hey, here are some problems that Pepsi would be very interested to collaborate with you to answer, or some untapped opportunities in the consumer packaged goods space that they should pay attention to. Love to hear your engagement with startups and what they should tackle as blue oceans in this domain.
So Omar, I start by disclosing that I'm personally extremely passionate about startups and in this part of the world, personally and professionally. And the reason is I believe that this is the future of this part of the world. They are the future source of innovation and of talent, which then brings me to the answer to your first question on PepsiCo. So PepsiCo as a company is engaging with startups, and we do a lot of different programs. We have accelerators in certain countries. We've actually invested in startups across different parts of the world. I'd say in Africa, Middle East, and South Asia, or in the Middle East, which is what you're asking about, we haven't done enough. And I'd like us to do more. And in fact, one of my mandates as the Chief Marketing Officer is I'm creating a team, and hopefully we'll put that together over the coming months, that will engage with startups. So how do you want to engage with startups? Like I said, startups for me are a source of leading, right? So first, they're a source of talent because being an entrepreneur in itself is a quite a unique set of talent and set of skills. Second is they're a source of inspiration, whether as innovation or just the way they think and they do things differently. And we've had people come into the business from startups today in the team, and they brought a lot of inspiration. Third is they're a source of solutions. And the solutions, which is the question that you asked, are in two areas. First, technology. So if you think about all the problems that I've raised, so how do we individualize at scale, right? How do we get better at targeting our communication? These are questions that we don't necessarily have the answers for today. So technology and helping us with technology, individualization, better return on investment on our communication. These are technology questions that we need help with from startups. And that's one of the mandates of that team once it's created. The other one is inspiration on products. And we want to be, as a company, we are very close to the consumer, right? We understand the consumer, we adapt our products, and we are, as part of the culture in Middle East and in Africa, Middle East, and South Asia in general, as any brand. But we want to get even closer, and we'd like to work with startups that enable us, whether with smart product solutions, smart packaging solutions, to be more relevant and get closer to the consumer. So technology, solving some of our communication, AI, and we spoke about shopping questions, and product and packaging inspiration.
Wonderful. And so we have some great opportunities for entrepreneurs in the audience, a really openness from Pepsi to collaborate. Mustafa, thank you so much for this great discussion. And we'll look forward to hopefully seeing some exciting success stories coming out of Pepsi collaborating with startups in our region.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you for your time, and my pleasure. Good luck with the rest of the conference, and my best regards to all the great entrepreneurs that are listening.